Everyone, TopCog here. In this video I'm going to be doing some coding on my upcoming project, Idle Ninja Prime. This video is just for fun, something I thought I'd do to give you a glimpse into what coding a game is like, at least for me. But I welcome any feedback on coding techniques or tools you might think be useful for me, or gameplay suggestions or anything like that. So in this video, what I'm going to try to do is code up the 4 augmentations for the Exploding Fist skill. So let me give some background on this. So the design of the game, each skill has 4 different augmentations. There are 2 basic augmentations and 2 ancient augmentations. And in the game, you can only select one of the two augmentations at a time. And the ancient augmentations, you can have both of them at the same time, and you get those through a tech tree. But the point I want to make here is that you should understand is there are 4 augmentations. You can only have one of these 2, and you can have both of these. Alright, so we're gonna just jump right into this. I'm gonna turn on my balancing code and make sure this runs. Okay, so I've got a test manager. This class is gonna handle it does a lot of things and we'll get to it, but first let's just put in the Exploding Fist skill and run this and make sure the skill works. This is one of the earlier skills that I coded, that I came up with, so it may change a lot just as we're doing it here. Alright, so works, that's what it does. Boosh. Okay, good. So the 4 augmentations that we're going to put in are right here. And we're just going to get right into this. So the first one, the charge creates a wave of fireballs. More fireballs are released based on the charge intensity. So the charge, meaning the kind of the wind up and the zoom in to where the ninja, goes back and then charges in and then explodes. So as he's charging in, I want fireballs to be shooting off in all kind of different directions. So to do this, I'm actually going to harvest one of the older skills, Flame Wave, which has the needed shoot off fireballs code. So let's go to the Exploding Fist skill. So okay, have to decide how I want to do this. I can have the fireballs shoot off based on how far the ninja travels, or I can just have them shoot off based on time interval. It's probably way easier to do it based on the time interval, so let's try that first. Let's say 0.1 seconds. For now, probably gonna have to tweak this. Let's say 0.05 seconds. Okay, and I have not worked with this class in quite a while, so we may have to do some tweaks to a lot of things while we're in here. Let me just look at what's happening. Okay, so it creates a skill object with ID 0, and that is the... What is this? Oh, okay. That's really jank way of doing this. So what it's doing is, this skill is kind of special. It's what I call a technique, and it alters the movement of the ninja. And if I click this over and over, I've got this, every time I click it, it just casts it. You notice that it doesn't cast the next one until the previous one finished. So it queues up, it checks and see if the ninja is currently being controlled by a technique, and if it is, then it just waits until the ninja is free, and that's what I'm using the ID here to track. So if ID equals 0, that means we have not launched yet. So begin, we have not charged yet. So begin charge. Okay, and then this does all the stuff to begin to do the charge, and then I guess this is also doing other stuff. This does not look to be a very efficient way to do this, but we'll leave it for now. It's probably fine. Okay, so we have a fireball interval. So down here, this is where the ninja is charging. Okay, so we're using timer 1, we're using timer 2. So let's get timer 3 going here. Is timer 2 being initialized? I don't think so. Unless... no, I don't think so. Let's just put this in here too. Alright. Timer 3, and then down here. Just gonna grab... just do a simple thing. Delta is the time step. SO is the skill object. That's the... so this class is just like, it just contains the logic, all the data, well, basically all the data for each of the for the thing that does all the things that the skill does. Well, let me just show you. Inside here, this contains like the graphics for the specific object, positioning, velocity, timers, counters, things like that, but no logic for the skill. Okay. So timer 3 plus equals delta, and then here we're gonna launch 2 fireballs off to the sides. And then now we're gonna jump over to the flame wave and see how this is doing. So let's just copy this over for now. Put in some just the needed stuff. Okay, launch simple. SO to timer equals random. SO to timer 1 equals random 0.1. I don't know why. Let's see what timer 1 is. Oh, that's just the I think that's just the animation timer. Yeah. That's just the animation timer. So these should really both be 0.1. Alright, and then what this is going to do is this function here, launch simple, that launches the thing, sets it at the ninja position, sets up the velocities and the graphics and the damage and all that. It's going to do all that, so I don't have to do it every time. But what it's not going to do... oh, and then it's going to link, that's what I was going to say, it's going to link that skill object to this class, to this skill definition. So I need to take the update code here and bring it over here. Just do it like this. Kind of a weird way to do it, but I like to keep all the things together. Although, yeah, it's going to be the best way probably. Okay, and so all I need to do here is just say so.id equals 2. Alright, and then this also does something when it hits the mob, makes a little graphic. So we're going to copy this over. Okay. And the other thing, we only want to do this if the augmentation is active. And this is the, yeah. This is just a little array that keeps track of the mod, which augmentations are active. 0 being it's not active, 2 being it's active. So if the 0 aug is active, then we're going to do that. And then now we'll jump back to our test manager and activate the 0 aug and see what happens. All right, it works. So is it balanced? Who knows? Okay, so now do I like that angle? Do I like how this is working? Let's see. It's pretty sweet. Angle's kind of sharp though. Let's have not as sharp of an angle. Let's just try something like 40. Do we want to randomize the angle? Maybe. We might want to randomize the angle. I'm not sure. Let's try this first. Alright. Cool. So how many of these is it launching? A lot. So they definitely should not all be dealing the full damage of the blast. So I believe we can pass in a damage value here. And let's just guess that there's... Okay, so now we get to balancing time. How many... Actually, let's just track how many are getting cast real quick. This is going to be a ghetto way to do it, but it'll work. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's activating 7 times, so 14 fireballs are being launched. So we can say... okay. And now let's suppose that we want the damage bonus of the fireball to be plus 40%. That's my baseline. 35 to 40% is how much I'm trying to make each augmentation improve the damage of the skills. And 40% is very safe because not all the fireballs are going to hit. You know, there's some variance there. Maybe it casts more, maybe it casts a little bit less. So, well, let's say the average is 16 launched. And let's say we want to give it 40% damage. So SO damage times 0.4. 40% of the base damage is how much we want to deal. I think. Actually, it's a difficult question. This deals massive damage. To be honest, this one is probably not balanced very well. I don't recall if this one's balanced very well. So, but let's just guess. Let's say 0.4 divided by fireballs launched. So the sum of all the fireballs hitting will be 40% of the impact damage. Okay, so let's run it and make sure this works. Alright, so the blast is killing everything it hits. Fireballs are not killing anything they hit. How overpowered is this right now? The basic skill. Those fireballs are doing I think it's too low. Well, they're almost all hitting. I mean, if they all hit, then it's dealing 40% of the blast. But the blast hits like 5 or 6 enemies. So if we want to be increasing the total DPS, it really should be more than 50% of a single damage. Oh, let's turn this back a little bit. It's a little bit too many. So let's say 0.75. And let's bump this up to 0.6, just because it feels right. And what's that? 0.05, 0.07, 0.075 divided by 0.05 is 1.5. So this divided by 1.5, 16 divided by 1.5, it's like 11 or 10. So let's just say 10. So I want the fireballs to, like, you know, potentially be killing things. If the main blast is obliterating everything, it'd be nice if the fireballs killing a little bit. That said, it's maybe okay. Alright, so now what we're going to do, I think this is fine. Visually, I like this. It's cool. It's pretty thematic. Okay, so now we're going to go to the balancing test manager, and now we're going to utilize the tools to try to actually balance these things. So what this is going to do is it's going to run at just as fast as it can, and it's going to run in 30-minute increments. It's just going to do it really, really fast, and it does. So there's a series of tests. It tests a skill and however many augmentations I want on that skill. And each test it does 8 different subtests. And what it does is it varies different enemies, different enemy formations, and different enemy toughness. And the result of that, I track how successful the skill has done versus each of those combinations. And that lets me gauge how good the skill is in compared to other skills. And then, you know, how good is the skill with the augmentation versus without the augmentation. So first I just want to make sure that the basic skill is balanced. So yeah, it's going to be this. Dun, 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 dun. We'll try this. It actually varies a lot with what mobs you choose, and it's definitely not foolproof. So you see here, each of these is a half an hour block, and it's going to spit out some data here, and then I'm going to stop it. Okay, so this actually, I only need this first line. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the average of these, I believe. And these are percentage performance compared to baseline. And the baseline in this case is the kunai skill. So I first run all 8 tests with the kunai skill. That becomes the baseline, and I'm running it all with the exploding fist, and then I'm seeing how it compares. So in general, it's doing really bad, except for this one case, which is pulling a lot of the slack. So let's run a couple more times. Let's try just with some different enemy types. I don't have this testing down to an exact science yet, so it's just kind of see how it goes and play with it. Alright, so versus basic enemies is doing even worse. It's quite complicated because Exploding Fist has a 10-second cooldown. For example, let's just try this. Let's just say we multiply the damage by 10. How much improvement are we going to get? Because sometimes it may be that no matter how much we improve the damage, that's normally how I like to balance things, just improving the damage. Yeah, so see, it's not actually doing any better, even if we multiply the damage by 10. And I think that's because it's just simply not killing enough enemies. And the ninja is just dying out. The ninja is dying before it can really make that much difference. Let's change the cooldown. Let's reduce the cooldown. So it doesn't need to be 15,000. Or maybe I didn't hit save. Let's try it one more time. Nope, I hit save. It's just doesn't do that great. And I even have this mod active too. Let's turn the mod off. Run it one last time. .6. That's really bad. So it was doing way better versus these other enemies. Which is interesting. So let's try versus these enemies with the massive damage. Okay, now it's doing twice as good as the kunai. So I do want to use these enemies as our testing against, because I generally want to balance the skills in this scenario where they are doing as good as they're ever going to do. So let's turn the damage back down to what I had previously. Okay, so now all I did was reduce the cooldown from 10 seconds to 8.2, and it's doing far better. So in this case, wow, it's just absolutely annihilating this setup. It's doing pretty bad in other cases, but not every case. Some of them are okay. So I'm gonna leave it. I think it's probably fine. At this point now, so okay, basic balance is done. Now I want to compare it against itself with the augmentations. So I'm going to do 4 tests. Well, I guess we only have the one aug done, so we're just going to do 1 test. Going to test the basic skill with no augmentations, and then with that 1 fireball augmentation that we just coded up. Alright, so this is compared to the exploding fist with no augs as the baseline. So with the fireball aug is giving us 18% improvement. And I generally like to shoot for between 30 and 40, between 20 and 40%. So it's underperforming. So what we'll do is go back to over here, and we'll just bump this damage up. Let's try 7 for now, to start with. Okay, a little better. What if we just make it 1? Again, I mean, there are limits. It can only go so high. But I think what's probably happening is a lot of the fireballs are missing. So having the increased damage. Okay, so 28% to 32. It varies quite a lot. That's pretty good. I think that's acceptable. And who knows? This could be totally unbalanced later on when you combine it into a full loadout. But that'll have to get sorted out later. This is just, what it is. And based on this metric, it looks balanced. Okay, so that wraps up that. We're on to the next. Okay, this one's easy. The explosion releases explosive tendrils. So these are the 2 basic augmentations which are exclusive. So this one, explosive tendrils. Okay, so when it hits, we want to release explosive tendrils. So here is when it hits. Impact. And so right here, we'll throw in the tendrils. this is very easy. Should be quite easy. So I'm going to jump over the Firecracker skill, which launches things, which then launch tendrils, just to get this code, see what it looks like. Alright, so we've already got a class for this. I'm assuming it's going to create this at this point. So, yeah. Let me just make sure. Just do this. Okay. Second parameter is the time. I'm assuming that's the duration the tendril is out. What about damage? Okay. So the damage. Okay, so how many? I don't know. Let's say 5. Let's try just 5. It's probably, who knows? Alright, so if there's 5, and let's say we want each one, tendrils do a lot of damage. So, how many times is it going to hit on average? I don't know, 3, 2, let's say 2. And we want the damage bonus to be 0.4, 0.5 in total. I don't know. This gets pretty questionable, so let's just throw something in, and that's why we have the tester. Okay, so before we do the testing, well, the next thing to test is disable the fast mode. Disable the fast mode so that we can actually see it. Oh, and this should be mod 1. Aug1. Okay. Yes, very good. I like it. I'm thinking to make the tendrils longer. Should we make them longer or faster? We can change them however we want. Looks pretty good, to be honest. I'm not sure it needs any more either. Is this one of the... Okay, this is the second aug. Yeah, good. Alright, so yeah. Looks good. I don't think any modification is needed. So let's test. Enable fast mode. Baseline is just the skill, no mods. No augs, and then test with the first aug activated. See how it compares. Bingo! Spot on! That's like perfect, what we want to see. And this one you can see it's better all across the board. Which is kind of interesting. I think it probably makes sense because the tendrils are probably all hitting... You know what? Why don't we make the tendrils offset from the explosion slightly? And I'm going to do that in a really goofy way. Just because I'm feeling lazy. So let's say radius of 150. Okay. And yeah, let's look at this again. Just want to see what that looks like, if I like it. Just to make it seem like the explosion is a little bit more... Can't even tell if it's doing anything. Can't even tell if they're coming from a different point. Different points. So this needs to be much bigger, obviously. Let's try that. Oh, that'll do it also. Nice. That's too much, actually. And is that too much? I think that's actually too much now. I think we can go back, scale it back just a bit. 150 is the size of one tile, a single tile. Very nice. Very nice. Nice. Okay. Let's balance. Alright, have 32 minutes into the video and just about halfway done, so we should wrap this up in about an hour, which was my goal, or less. Alright, so now it's doing better. Yeah, all we changed was spread them out a little bit, and it's doing quite a bit better. So I want to tune it, I want to scale it back just a tad. Let's try this. I guess that's a 20% hit in the damage, but may not matter. Maybe fine. Yep, perfect. Okay. So that is that. On to the next. So this one is done. Any name? Let's see. Fireball. What could we call this? Fireball wave. Fiery charge. Sure. Probably change most of the names later. Just something for placeholder for now. The explosion releases explosive tendrils. More tendrils release better efficiency. Something like fragmentation. Shattering blow. Sure. Okay. Let's do this fourth one first, because this one's quite easy. Normally, most of them are not this simple, but that's just what I came up with. For this one, I think it's okay. This one should be very easy. So, oops. Turn that on. And basically on impact, if we have mod 3 active, then so.skillcaster.cooldown timer minus equals so.skillcaster.get cooldown. Okay, I gotta check on this. I'm not exactly sure whether that counter goes up or down. Okay, so the cooldown timer counts down. So this should be minus. Where are we? Here. Okay, good. And then I need to check and make sure when I get the cooldown feel like this is not the right way to be getting the cooldown. I thought there was a different way to get the cooldown. In case of cooldown bonuses and etc. Ah, okay, I'm just applying them like that. Okay, excellent. So this should work. So upon impact, you should see the thing jump. This is very straightforward. This is almost like cheating. So, well, almost cheating if it works, but whoa. Okay, that's kind of buggy. Oh, did I just subtract the whole thing? Yep. So now it should only do 30% properly. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Sweet. Alright, and 30% cooldown, obviously 30% DPS. That synergizes with the others, very nice. Okay, and on to the last one. What do we call this? No clue. Let's just call it something generic for now. Frenzy. Okay. This one, most complicated. If no enemies survive the explosion, the next exploding fist has plus 50% explosion size and intensity, and minus 50% damage. Otherwise, the next exploding fist has plus 50% damage. And all intensity does is it just gives these two things 50% more projectiles. Yeah, so let's see, how do we want to tackle this? So first we need to detect if any enemies survive the explosion. Okay, so this is going to be done right here. We're on impact. We deal damage into a circle. So we're going to have a different... This actually has larger explosion radius the farther you travel. I didn't actually realize that. I forgot that. Yeah, this one might need some major revisions later on, but for now, okay. So we need to detect which mobs survive. So we have inflict damage in circle. And so this is going to get messy, but we're just going to do it. So we want this to tell us if a mob survived. But I don't want to do it here. I would rather copy it and say inflict damage in circle. Let's have it return a boolean. And let's call it inflict damage in circle 2. I don't know. Okay. Why is this? Okay. Alright, so first we loop through and we add all mobs to... Okay, so we need to create a array. Actually, do I already have an array for like temp purposes? Probably should do that at some point, but this is fine. Array mobs equals new array mob false 16. Sure. Okay, and instead of dealing damage to the things, we're going to just add them to this array, because we're going to loop through and... Oh, maybe we don't even need to do that. Wait a minute, there's a better way to do this. So the default would be no mob survived, right? So now we just need to check, does any mob survive the damage? Question is, how am I tracking mobs being dead? Take damage. I think there's not a boolean tracking if a mob is dead. I just set the damage to less than or equal to 0. I think. I know I checked this on other places. Maybe I don't. Okay, I'm checking it just one place. And I'm just checking if the HP is greater than 0. I think that's all I need to do. If the mob is alive. If the mob dies, let's just double check though. If the mob dies, and it's freed, the HP doesn't get reset. It's possible the mob gets freed. There's some nuances in the code which are not fully taken care of at the moment, because the mob could get freed, added back to the mob pool, and then another mob dies, and somehow that mob generates another mob on its death, and it pulls this mob which just died from the pool, and then it gives it a health which is non-zero. So there is actually a bug. If I just say if mob.hp greater than 0, this is bugged. I mean, this introduces a bug because it's possible for this mob to not be the same as this mob. But does it matter? That bug is very rare to occur, and all that would happen, it wouldn't crash the game, you just wouldn't get this trigger, potentially. So, it's fine. Optimize and debug later. Okay, so now we have boolean survived equals inflict damage in circle 2. Survived. Survive. Okay, and then if, what do we want to check? If the aug is active. Mod status. This is the second, number 2. It's the third, but index 2 is active. Okay, and now at this point, I think we're gonna create some more variables for the caster. Yes. Okay, so now we've detected whether the mobs have died or not. So in the next exploding fist. Okay, so the next one has boosted intensity, size, and damage. Size, intensity, reduced damage. Let's just call it intensity. Yeah, now we need to keep these 3 separate. We need to keep these 3 separate because we might have to make them different in the balance. Why is it saying size is being used? Oh, it's just saying this is a spelling error. But it is not. No, it's saying it's never used. Where is this used? It's never used either. Alright. Almost done here. So what we're gonna do, set these variables appropriately based on if it survived. So if someone survived, plus 50% damage. Yeah, these names are not good. Let's call this next size, next intensity, next damage, and let's initialize them to 1. Okay. next damage equals 1.5, next intensity equals 1, next size equals 1. Otherwise, nobody survived, so the damage is half, intensity is boosted, and the size is boosted. Yes. Okay, now we need to make these effective. So it gets the charge begins here, and this is where the damage is set. No, the damage is set up here. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to do the damage up here. We're going to do the damage down here. Okay, this code should really be put together better, but fine for now, I guess. Okay, there's the damage, and now we're gonna check, or now we just multiply by the next damage. Boom, and then we're gonna reset next damage in case the aug changes or something. And actually also nah, never mind. Yeah, we're gonna just reset that to 1. Okay, yeah. Where was I at? Next damage equals 1. Okay, now let's do the size. On the impact, explosion size. Okay. I think we just say times next size. It doesn't like that. Okay. Next size, float. And then we want the here. Alright, it's not, it's kind of ugly and messy, but it works. Should work. Alright, lastly, next intensity. Next intensity, that impacts either the tendrils or the fireballs. Let's do the tendrils first. That's easier. Tendrils are here. And that's why I made this not final. I can say next tendrils times next intensity. Huh. Plus 50% is 2.5, which is not convenient. So let's just say plus 40%. Yeah, plus 40%, because we don't want 40% actually bigger size. That's too big. Okay, and then 40% times the should divide out, right? Yeah, so it'd be 7 tendrils. Okay, good. And then it resets it. Okay, and now we need intermediate variable for the fireball interval, which we can set this really anywhere. And then we're just gonna queue off of this mod my fireball interval divided by equal next intensity. Wait, can that happen here? It could, but let's do it down here just to be consistent. And yeah, this is quite a messy skill, but it's okay. Okay. Oh, and then where's the fireball launcher? Here. My fireball launcher. Okay. Very good. Let's see if this works. Ah, okay, so right now all we are seeing, okay, so how do we test this? Let's see. A little bit tricky to test. Let's go, let's check that our survive code is working. Pretty confident the next damage code is going to be working. So false would mean everybody died. That's what I expect. So if everybody dies, we should be getting bigger explosion. Looks bigger to me, I guess. Is ever not everybody gonna die? Why do I have so much power? Yeah, it's probably overpowered of a skill. But that's what we have the testing for. Alright, so let's add in the, well, really need to test to make sure it works when not everyone dies. So what I'm going to do is alter this value, starting power amount, so I have much less power. Hopefully it doesn't just one-shot everything now. Still is. Yeah, I don't know about the balance of this. Should not be one-shotting everything. So I know it screws up the numbers we looked at before, but this has to go down. It screws it up when you compare to the kunai, but not when you compare it versus itself. They're still all dying. I wonder if the damage of this is not being set properly. Okay, they're not all dying this time. Good. But I mean, holy cow. Let me check that this damage is being computed properly. Let's just compare versus something else. Yeah, get damage factor times caster damage multiplier. Get damage factor, caster damage multiplier. Alright, well, this probably should be something like 700. 600? I don't know. Okay. So it's killing everything, sure. The explosion is bigger, I can tell. And now we're gonna combine it with those other augs, one of the first two augs. This one is the flame wave, so it should launch more fireballs. First one. Yeah. Very nice. That angle of those fireballs is still kind of questionable. Nah, it's good. Pretty good. It's interesting. Could definitely change. Could definitely change it. Okay, let's test with the whatever this one was. And we're almost done. Yes, tendrils. Awesome, extra tendrils. Very good. And then we can of course combine with the third one, very simple one, cooldown boost. Might change this one later to be something more interesting if I get the time. But yeah, that works. Okay, so visually satisfied with this. So now, final step, I'm going to do the balance testing for the augs. So now the baseline is going to be exploding fists, no augs. Then we're going to test first aug, and then first and third, and then first and fourth, and then first, third, and fourth. So we're going to get 4 tests here. Okay, this is first aug, first and second, first aug, first and third, first and fourth, first, third, and fourth. So this is the most important number, 2.1. It's a little bit low from what I like to have. First one is the fireball. So the fireball is underperforming. Still underperforming. I think what I might do is make this slightly randomized. And this is going to help the fireballs hit more enemies, in theory. So it should be more balanced. Should do more damage. 1.16, 1.69, 1.64, 2.5. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So the fireballs are a little bit weak on their own, but they get better when you combine them with the other things. Actually, let's do this test real quick. Let's see just the third and the fourth, and then the third and the fourth together, just to confirm that they're not overtuned. 43% on the second, 27% on the third, 94 together. That seems good. Alright, so the first one, first aug, working. Now let's test the tendrils with the other, the third and the fourth, like before. Tendrils in third, tendrils in fourth, tendrils third and fourth. So also slightly low based on this. This, once the game is out in alpha testing, we'll get some actual feedback and tune things again. So tendrils, where are the tendrils? I remember tuning this down. Let's just try bumping it up a tad. Good. 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 Alright. So that is that. We have successfully coded up these 4 augs. Oh, it needs a name. Adaptive fist. There we go. Or adaptive, not fist, we already used fist. Adaptive posture, adaptive technique, adaptive hold, form. There we go. That works. Alright. So that wraps up this video. That's all I wanted to cover. And it's just slightly over an hour, so perfect timing. Thanks for watching. Again, if you have any feedback for me, just let me know in the comments or on the subreddit. Alpha testing is still a little ways away. I'm thinking of having a release once I get all the augmentations coded. And I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 18 right now. Complete. 5 of 18 complete. So once I get all those done, might be nice just to release it in some capacity and let people start fooling around with combinations and try to break things. So we'll see. Alright, till then, hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.